everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of how to plan for AGP. Today we are going to be talking about how to budget for AGP. Now, me being me, I am a planner and I like to know everything before I go somewhere. I need to know how much it costs. I need to know where we're staying. I need to know where we're staying is going to cost. I need to know how much the food is going to be, stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in learning how to budget for AGP, watch this video and I will stop talking and get into the good stuff. So while budgeting for AGP, the main things that I remember thinking about prior to my trip were, if I can think of it in order, were the rooms, gas, food, shopping, tickets, and parking. I think those were the main things that I thought of prior to my trip. And for me, I think at the time my budget was probably around $350 to $400. I didn't see myself spending more than that for a weekend in Atlanta if I knew specifically what I was doing. If you think that your budget is going to be higher than that, that's great. That's just the budget that I created for myself because it was my first time going to AGP. Now that I know what I'm doing and now that I've been there, I have a better and more precise idea of what I would have to pay for if I attended AGP this year. So I hope that this video will help you guys out. So I can't tell you specifically how much each thing will cost because it does depend on you and it depends on where you stay and where you eat and what you plan on doing while you're at AGP. But from what I can tell you with myself, what I like to do is I like to keep it within a certain range of amount of money. And I think I ended up budgeting better for this AGP trip. And I think what I'll do if we do end up going to AGP, because you know, coronavirus, if it isn't canceled, if we attend AGP, I'll give you guys like what I actually spent at AGP video so that you guys will know the difference between what I budgeted and then what was actually spent. So for our rooms, I budgeted $120 to $130, and the room does include parking. Like I said in the previous video, what I like to do now is reserve the room, which I'm so glad that I did this year. Reserve the room to pay once I get to the hotel, so that I can, if I don't have the money right now, I can just save it and then pay it when we get there. AGP's in June. I reserved our hotel in February, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably early February. So I have an idea of what the room is going to cost as well as parking, because you have to read the details of the hotel to see what they charge to make sure that you can afford the security deposit or afford the parking that they offer or afford the hotel itself. So like I said, some hotels will charge security fees, so make sure that you budget that into your budget and make sure that you call them in advance to make sure that there are no additional fees before you book the room. That's another thing that I like to do. I like to call to confirm everything, and then they'll read it back to me, and then we'll be good to go. So for me, I budgeted about $120 to $130 for our room and for our parking. The reason why it's so cheap is it depends on the number of people who are going. For me, I do think bigger is better, but I think that when you start with a big group, people tend to change their plans or they tend to drop out. And when you're booking or when you're planning a trip with a big group of people and you budget that money based on that group of people and those people fall out, the people who are still there are responsible for that cost and they have to pay it themselves, which I don't think is fair. Which for me, I would recommend for anyone who's planning on doing a big trip, they have to put down a deposit. So anyone who's going on the trip needs to put down a deposit, and that deposit is non-refundable, because if you drop out, the people who are still going will have to pick up that cost, and that's not fair to them if you committed to going. Some of you may not agree with that. Some of you may think that it's okay for people to drop out, which is completely up to you. But for me, for fairness sake, I think that it's good to do those types of things, because you don't want to leave the other people hanging to not only pay the total amount if they didn't pay a deposit, but to pay the deposit amount as well as whatever is left over because people drop out. I think that it's fair to put that in a disclaimer for everybody. Hey, if you're going, you're going to have to hold your seat by putting this money down, and it's non-refundable, and just go from there. If you guys come up with a better plan, let me know. But that's a way that I recommend just holding a place and making it easier on everyone else to pay their portion. So for us, we planned a group of 3 to a group of 4, which is why my prices are a little cheaper. I feel like I have paid more on trips, so I think a weekend in Atlanta for this amount is pretty cheap. So that's my hotel and that's my parking. Food can be anywhere between, for me, it can be anywhere between like 20 to, I won't say 100, but it depends on if we go to a restaurant too, because I like to eat. So I would say anyone who budgeted, they can budget in anywhere between like 20 to 50 or like 50 to 100 for eating. It's just a weekend. I don't see myself spending $100 on a weekend for food unless we are going to a nice restaurant, because there's Papados, there's Marietta Diner, there's all kinds of restaurants in our area, and you get hungry throughout the day. So it just depends. If you go out to a club, that can be included in that. I didn't include that in my cost, but that's just something that you can take into consideration, because when you go out, going out will take up a lot of your money too. I know people who go out and they'll spend like $160 going out in itself, not including food for the weekend. So it depends on you. So you can stretch that range if you want to, but for me, for someone who's budgeting, I would keep my budget between $50 to $100 for food and going out. And once I hit that limit, I'm staying in the hotel. I'm not going anywhere. Next thing that you want to take into consideration is ticket prices. If you do the early bird special, you are more likely to get a better price on your tickets. If not, you're looking at paying a minimum of like $22 without the what's it called? Without like the processing charge. It could be anywhere between $22 to like $25 for a ticket, depending on if you're doing it a regular ticket or if you're doing a late ticket, if they even offer late tickets. Early bird special, I think the early bird tickets are, how much were early bird tickets? I think early bird tickets were around like $16 or so, $15 or $16 without the fees. So you come out a little cheaper. So take that into consideration for AGP if you ever want to plan in advance. Get the early bird tickets to solidify that you're going, and then pay for your hotel, but just make sure you're paying attention to ticket prices. Tickets, depending on what events you're planning on going to, can be anywhere between $25 to $50 depending on what you're planning on doing. A lot of the events that they offer through AGP are free, so make sure that you're taking a look at each event that they offer, because it will let you know if the event is free. So just take a look and make sure that you're able to afford some of the things that they're offering. And then they have some things like VIP specials or VIP treatment or something like that, and those tend to cost a little more. So if you want the VIP experience, you're gonna have to pay a little more money for that, and just make sure that you have that in your budget to do so. Lastly, we have gas and shopping. Gas depends on who you're going with, and it depends on how you're getting there. If it's a group of people, then you probably just have to give your driver maybe like $10 per person to get where you're going, or $20 per person to get where you're going, just to be nice, and that's usually really helpful. And it also depends on where you're traveling from. So if you're not in my area going to Georgia, it'll cost you a little more to get where you're going, or if you're flying from somewhere, that can cost a little more. So make sure you know how much the cost of travel is before you attend, or before you pay for like your tickets, so that you'll know how much you have to kick out to get where you're going. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. Me, thank God, I live like not on the border of Georgia, but thank God I live next to Georgia. So it's like a 3-hour drive to get to Georgia, roughly, depending on who's driving, and about 3 hours to get back. So it's easier for me. If you're coming from Alabama or something, it's going to cost you a little more in gas money per person to get where you're going if you're driving, because you have to take the distance into consideration. And then with shopping, I feel like depends on the person. Me, I have a lot of Melia already, and AGP does have a lot of vendors. So if you want something customized, or if you want something that you don't have already, then you might want to bring some extra money to make sure that you can afford the things that they have to offer. Like, they offer everything at AGP, everything. I can't even get into all the stuff that they offer as far as vendors for AGP, because it's a lot. I was down there and they had people getting their jackets custom made at the picnic. They would just take down their order, take their payment, they would go, have fun, come back in a few hours, maybe not a few hours, come back in like 45 minutes to an hour maybe, and their jacket would be done, and they could wear the jacket at AGP. So there's a lot that they have to offer there, that if you want it, you have to know that you have to have money for it, and just know how much it will cost. And it does depend on the vendor. I'm not sure if AGP has a vendor listing on their website. You guys can definitely check it out and see if they do, but they do offer a lot, and it's Atlanta. They're gonna have a lot. Maybe stuff for Greeks might be there, maybe, Possibly. I don't know. I don't remember seeing them last year, to be honest, but that would be really dope if they were there, because stuff for Greek, I fool with stuff for Greeks. If y'all didn't see my line jacket, check that video out. If they are there, that would be amazing. I don't remember seeing them the year that I went though, but if they were there, that would be awesome. But there's still other amazing vendors that are there that can do really nice custom work for you, or have really nice paraphernalia that you want or need or have to have, and you can purchase it there right on the spot. So if you want to do that, make sure that you have the money to do that. And then aside from AGP, if you just want to go out in Atlanta and shop, they have a lot of shopping places in Atlanta. They have Lenox Mall and all those good places with all those nice fancy stores and stuff. You can check them out and you can buy some things. So make sure that you have the money if you want to. And I think they have a perimeter mall, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure. But if you want to shop in those types of places, make sure that you have the money to do that and put that in your budget. As you guys can see, I am a creature of subtleness. I don't have to go above and beyond for AGP, so my budget is very, very limited because I go to Atlanta all the time. Like, I have family in Atlanta, so for me, going to Atlanta for AGP is a small budget in my income, or a small thing that I would have to plan for, because I go so frequently to Atlanta. So if you've never been and you want the full experience, just make sure that you have the money for it so that you can just have the ultimate experience that you plan to have. So I hope that these tidbits helped you guys with how to budget for AGP and how to plan out your money. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you have some experience with budgeting for AGP, put them in the comments below. Let me know what you guys thought about it. I hope that you liked this video and give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.